Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. And you're wondering why I'm showing you the back of my Yamaha R3, and it's because you could see the amount of lean angle on my bike. I did do a rear shock that goes back here. I did recently do a swap, and I swapped it out to a 2013 Kawasaki shock in order to increase the ride height, because every time I sat on it, it kind of squashed. Hopefully I have a little video to show you on how much, sag that it had every time I sat on it. And it's for people who weigh a little over 200 pounds plus. Obviously when you sit on an R3, it's not, the highest bike, so when you do sit on it, it's going to squash down a little bit. So yeah, so that's the reason for that. And once I did that, I realized that it lifted up the bike even higher, causing the bike to lean this much. Now every time I get off my bike, I swear I feel like I'm gonna drop my bike because it's just such a sharp lean angle, as you guys could see on how it looks like it's about to tip over. And having that feeling of it almost tipping over as I'm getting off, I just feel really scared that I'm gonna drop it, even though that the kickstand is down. Obviously you can see the kickstand down right there. So in order to remedy that, we have to, I'm going to show you in this video on how to install a 1-inch block underneath the kickstand foot, which is right there. So it'll be a 1-inch block. Let me go ahead and grab that block so you guys can see. This block came in two 1-inch block increments. Now this is how the block looks like. Hopefully it could focus. This is how it is. This is the part that would go to the floor, and this is the part that would be on the top. You see there's two holes on it because you do have to bolt this to your kickstand. Now, like I said, that these came in 1-inch blocks, and they come in pairs of two. There was no way around it to be able to just get one. So here is the other one. Now you're going to notice on this one I have two rubber pieces because I did glue it. I didn't show you that because honestly I was not going to even do this video, but after thinking about, there was another video that I did a long time ago, as you could see here, on how to change a fuse. I didn't think anybody would even care to see on how to change a fuse, but you know what, I was like, let me just do the video anyway. And look, it's almost at 500,000 views currently now, which blows my mind. So therefore I was like, you know what, I'm going to do it with this one. I will show you on this one on how I did this piece. Now this rubber piece is going to go for the bottom, and the reason I did rubber piece and not just only aluminum is because I don't like to see aluminum scratch. Plus it makes it slippery when it's just aluminum on the floor. And having a little bit of rubber gives you that traction, knowing that your bike is going to be secure and not really move compared to having aluminum. So anyhow, but if you wanted to 2-inch block, you could there's screws, adapter screws that would come with this, and this would, put a screw through all the way through. But for this particular application, a 1-inch with a little bit of rubber, 2 pieces of rubber at the bottom. I'll probably put a rubber in between here. That should give me the proper, lean, not so aggressive like this, to keep the bike at. All right, let's get started. All right, now we're at the desk or the bench, and here is my block. Here is the one that I was telling you guys about with the rubber piece. And honestly, I just cut the rubber. Those 2 pieces of rubber I pushed together. All right, so anyhow, to get to these 2 pieces, like I said, you will be able to find, I'll have a link below of this, the pad. It actually came as a really big block. I believe it was I think a 4x4 or 2x2 inch block of rubber, and this thin. And yeah, so what you need to do is when you get it, we'll just pretend that this was the original big block of pad. What you're gonna do is you're gonna put your kickstand block over it, and then you're just going to trace it with a pen, and then you're going to cut it. Once you cut it, you're going to be left with the the outline of your bottom part of your kickstand block. After you do that, all you're going to do is going to grab some shoe glue. Here is the shoe glue that I normally always use. Is going to be the black version, because they also have a clear one, but I always usually use black. And then after you get your shoe glue, you're going to open it. You're going to grab it, you're going to put a whole bunch underneath it, and then you're going to grab your pad, you're going to stick it, and then just leave it overnight like this. If you want to put some pressure on it, you can, but I generally found just to have it just like that to work out well, because when you do put pressure on it, it kind of squeezes all of the shoe glue out. Therefore, all that stuff that you put on there, it may just, come out, and it may not be as much shoe glue as you'd anticipated to have in there. So I would say just leave it with its own pressure, let it set for overnight, maybe 2 nights, to really make sure that it sets. Once it sets, now you're left with this guy. There's that. All right, so that's it for a nutshell on how to put that rubber piece over here at the bottom. Next, we want to do is we want to make sure that we put this block correctly positioned on the kickstand. That's going to be a little bit tricky. You may need someone else to hold the bike for you while you position this correctly on the bottom part of your kickstand, and if you have no one, just be very careful when doing it yourself. Alright, next, before we actually get started on marking where that block is going to go, if you have this particular wide foot pad that I installed on the R3, you're going to have to remove it because obviously you can't bolt it through using the other one with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that one, which will leave me with the bare OEM stock foot bottom of the kickstand. Alright, now I'm back to the OEM style of kickstand bottom plate really, and now that it doesn't have that 1 millimeter of height, now you can see in how much more it actually leans. I know it's kind of hard to see in the camera, you know, but trust me, it is that tipping point where you feel like you're about to drop the bike. That's how sharp the lean angle is. And of course, every time I'm recording, someone always has to be right behind me doing lawn care. And I'm not even sure if you can tell from this angle how much more it's actually leaning. But that soon is going to be all a thing of the past, and I can't wait to actually get that block under there, because right now I'm already on pins and needles on the way it's actually leaning right now. I feel like it could tip over at any minute now. Alright, now we're back at the bench, and here is the plate that I had. I've been rocking this plate. I actually gave it a fresh coat of paint, but it's, as you can see, it already started peeling again. But yeah, it was originally all silver with the black top. Here's the bottom. And I've been rocking this plate for, whoa, since 2015 when I bought the bike. I actually bought it not too soon after, just because on how small the footprint is for the stock plate. I wanted something with a wider foot, so when I'm parking it anywhere, even on grass, it was not going to sink into the grass or asphalt or whatever when it gets hot. Along with having this plate, that's where I came up with this idea of having the rubber piece, and that was the rubber piece I had for this particular foot. It was like this, so therefore I didn't have to worry about, you know, metal, you know, getting all hot and everything, and also they gave me that rubber grip that I needed at most times, especially when I was doing the 360 spin on the bike. I'll have a video clip if I can of me spinning the bike, just because it gave me that confidence, knowing that the bike was not going to slip from under me when I would spin it like that, especially getting out of tight parking spaces. After doing that shock, I could no longer use that. Therefore, that's why we got this newer one that we're going to be installing. Alright, so normally I use blue tape for a template to actually mark the holes, but since I don't have any blue tape, I'm going to use black duct tape just to get the marking here. So we're just going to go ahead and measure up to right there, rip it, and we are going to make our holes, but we're not going to make our holes like this. We're going to flip it so that the sticky part is actually this way. I actually just came across this little trick. Since it does come with two blocks, we could pretend that this is going to be the one from our bike. Therefore, we could actually stick the black duct tape or blue painter's tape onto this one, because this is the part that we're going to stick it on the underneath of the bike. So first you want to stick it, because obviously this has the holes, so just go ahead and stick it on this one. So obviously we're going to be putting this one like this, so that's going to be a good match. Alright, so once you stick it on here, you could just go ahead and you actually could cut it the shape of this, that way you exactly know on the bottom of your original one where you're going to be placing it. So I already made the holes. As you can see, I just used a, you know, screwdriver here, just punch the hole right through, punch the hole right through, so that makes the holes. Now I'm just going to go ahead and start cutting the shape of the block. Alright, now we're at the floor, and here is the block. Now right now I'm just going to see on how to position the block before I actually get it on the kickstand itself. I was going to put it this way with this curve facing out, but actually doing a little bit of testing, I think I'm going to have to do it this way with the flat part facing out and the curved part facing in, just due to because on how small the, or how wide, not, well, I would say narrow, there's not too much surface here, especially to get these bolts lined up. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift up the bike and kind of position it where I think it's going to be the best in order to me get those two holes onto this. But I'm not going to do anything yet. I just want to kind of see on the position and where it's going to be at. Other than that, once I get it in that one position, let me get my foot up here, support the bike since I'm doing this by myself, just kind of get it and line it up to where I hopefully could get it right on the spot. I think right about there. Oh, sliding a little bit, so maybe move it more. So this is just to get a general idea of where it's going to be. I would say probably about there, And as of right now, this is looking pretty good. It's actually having the bike much more upright, not too extremely upright, but enough where I won't feel that the bike's gonna fall over on me. So about there, I would say, and I'm gonna have to make my hole like around this point over here and another point right over here, and that's where the bolts are gonna go. So from the top view, this is how it looks like from the top view. So I believe the bolt will be around here and then another bolt here. We want to make sure that we have two access points or two clear areas of where we're going to be putting the bolts. So now that I know the kind of position of where it's going to be, this is how it's going to look like here. So let me get the rear stand so I can put the bike up, and then I'll show you how I'm going to do it with the tape. Alright, now that I got the bike on the rear stand, as you can see, now I have it off the ground. And what I want to make sure that I do is that I get enough surface material to make the hole. I don't want to be right at the edge and make a half hole, because that's not going to work. We need to have enough surface to make a complete hole for this area. For this part, I think we have enough for this. So as I'm positioning this part, when I do it with the tape, I want to make sure that I put it on enough of the bottom surface. So really it just comes down to positioning of this one, because like I said, this one, it looks like it's going to be over here, which will be perfect for this one. It might hit this part of the peg, you know, to be able to move the kickstand up and down. So yeah, so as I do this, you might want to do the same. Just be careful and make sure that you get it as best as you can on your ability to do so. So as of right now, it's like this. So for the tape, I did cut it to the same as the block. I only left this little piece out so I could actually peel it off of there and stick it to the bottom here. So I'm not going to obviously do it like this. I'm actually going to put the stand up this way so I could actually see what I'm doing, and you guys do the same. Once you have it there, you're going to go ahead and put your tape and, you know, just move it around until you see the optimal location on your bottom of your kickstand, and then really stick it on there, and then you're going to go ahead and start drilling the holes. So let me go ahead and do that. I'll tell you the size in a second of the drill bit that you're going to need to make the holes. Alright, so the drill bit you're going to need is going to be the 1/4 size, which is going to be that one right there. And that's going to need to make the hole of the net. Another cool tool to use is going to be a center punch. The reason for the center punch is that way when you put it over here, it's going to create a little indentation in there for your drill bit not to be moving all over the place as you're trying to make the hole. So center punch there, and that's going to create that little divot so your drill could be right on point on making the hole. So as you can see, I already put mine here. The hole that I'm about to make is going to be right there. Not sure what's going on with the... Oh, there we go. There's focus. So it's going to be a hole right over here, and the other hole is going to be right over here. So I'm going to go ahead and make my holes, and you guys do the same. Alrighty, as you can see, I already drilled out the holes, and it actually came out pretty good. Not going to lie. It actually came out better than I expected at the points that I was hoping for. Alright, so now that we have the holes already in, these are not going to be the bolts I'm going to be using. These are... To use these bolts, if you want to attach both of the blocks, you know, the two of the 1-inch blocks together, then you'll use these longer bolts. But as of right now, I get this block right here. Just go with the rubber piece. Hold it one hand. There goes one bolt. There goes the other bolt. And you can see that they actually line up here. It's kind of hard to do with one hand, but trust me, it does line. Oh, wrong way. Ha. Okay. Now trust me that it lines up the right way. I'm not going to put it in right now because there is one more thing I would like to do with this one. Obviously, I'm going to use the smaller bolts that come with the kit. The kit does come with a smaller bolt set in case you just want to do the one of the 1-inch blocks. Now let's go over to the bench and let me show you what I'm talking about. I decided to turn off the fan because it is a little windy, and I'm sure probably in the camera it's going to sound really loud. But let's go over here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. Alright, so I managed to find one of the pieces of the rubber that I use for the bottom part of this. Now this is how it comes in. It comes in this you could actually select any thickness you want. I decided to go with this thin, and this is the piece that I use, and you can see on the other side is the sticky part. Now what I would like to do is, obviously I already got the two pieces together here. I would like to put just one more piece kind of sandwich between the block and the bottom of the kickstand, just to give it just a little bit more, you know, so it's not leaning. It's right now with this block and this two extra pieces, it sits pretty good. I just wanted just a little bit more so it's not too tilted, much more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I got my spare piece here, and I'm going to put the sticky part down on this piece like this. So when I peel it, it's gonna stick here. Obviously I'm gonna have the holes here for the screws, and then I'm gonna put it on the kickstand. So to do so, I got it like this. I'm gonna grab a pen, and I'm just gonna lay it right here as close as I can to, you know, wherever. And then I'm just gonna trace it, the block. I'm gonna trace the block onto the rubber piece, and once I'm done tracing it, then I'm gonna go ahead and cut it. So let me show you. I'm gonna grab my pen right here. Actually, let's go with this side so I could, you know, kinda, I wanna keep the straightest, you know, the straightest as possible. And you could go to the edge, but then I'll be left with this uneven, weird pieces. So I'm just gonna put it as close as I can to the weird piece part and trace my plate here. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mark it. Obviously it seems to be an issue with this pen, so I may go with a marker instead. If you're having issues with yours, if you have a better pen than me, then that's great. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mark it with the pen, I mean the marker here. And that's all I'm doing, is just kind of tracing the block. There on this side, and then on this side. Alright, so about there, looks pretty good. Alright, so now that I'm left with my traced part, now I'm going to go ahead and grab my snips or scissors and cut the piece that I just marked over here. Okay, I already cut out the piece. Here it is right here, and it is a pretty good match, I would say. Once I put it on there like this, therefore it's going to give me just that little extra of you know, height, I would say, or you know, to get the bike just a little bit more upright. So this, just having this combination right here is going to put the bike where it's supposed to be and not make me feel like I'm going to drop my bike every time I put the kickstand down. Alright, so now that we got that done, I'm going to go ahead and clean this out with isopropyl alcohol, and so I can go ahead and stick this piece on there. And then I'm going to also make my holes over here as well, so that way when I put everything together and sandwich it, it's going to be ready to go. I already got the holes already put in there, and this is already clean. Now I'm going to go ahead and unstick this and put it right over there. At the same time, I want to make sure that the holes are lined up, even though I know that they are. I'm going to go ahead and grab the little bolts right here, put them through the rubber, and then put it through there. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now, just so I could really line up everything. Alright, so we got this bolt. Here's the other bolt. Just a little bit. There we go. As you can see, it's popped through. And then get this one in there as well. Alright, so now that I pop both of these through, I'm going to go ahead and peel this off. There we go. And then go ahead and stick it onto this part over here. Once I have my two bolts lined up, let's see, about there and there, I may just screw it in just a little bit, just so I know that I really got it on there. Alright. Okay, on there good, on there good. Okay, so now I'm just going to go ahead and push this down until it goes onto the metal block. Push that down as well. Give it a good firm press. I may have to get my blade and kind of trim some of that excess off. As you can see, there is a little bit of excess right there, but that's okay. That's nothing to be too concerned about. The most part was really to kind of conform to the shape of the block. And push this one down with this piece. Everything is looking good. All right, so before I go put it on the bike, I'm going to go ahead and just trim these pieces off, just so it can be a little bit more conformed to the block. And then we're going to go over to the bike and install this onto the bottom of the kickstand foot. All right, looking much better now that it is all trimmed, as you can see. Okay, now let's go over ahead and I'll get it to the bike. But actually, now that I think about it, before we do, I want to get some Loctite onto these bolts before we stick it into the bike, because we want to make sure that the vibrations and everything is not going to unloosen these screws and cause your block to fall out. Also, I'm not sure if I even mentioned it, but there's an Allen key that's needed to put the screw in. The Allen key size is going to be a 4mm Allen key to go into that screw to tighten it up. I also have a link for the description of these tools that I'm using of everything on this video, so you guys could use the same tool. All right. So let's go over to the bike. It also comes with these spacers for the screws. I'm not sure about the one spacer that's going to go here, because that little kick stick is on its way. I will probably use it for this side, but for this side maybe not, because obviously it's going to be a weird shape and this is not going to sit flat onto that screw. All right, so I got my blue Loctite, which is right over here. There it is, blue Loctite, and that's what I'm going to use for the threads of these screws. I'm going to make sure I put a lot of, well, not a lot, but enough, I would say. You want to get it towards the bottom of the bolts, just like that. So that's a generous amount of Loctite right there. All right, so now that we got that part in, okay, let's grab our I'll probably start off with this one over here. Oops, I almost forgot to put the little spacer on there. Alright, so I put the little spacer on. Okay, spacer is on. Slide that in through here. Sorry for the unfocusing, guys. I'm not even sure why that always happens to me. Okay, and we're gonna line up our bolt with the bottom part. And then you want to hand tighten it for now before you actually use the tool to actually tighten it up all the way. There we go. Okay, hold it and support it as I try to screw it in as much as I can. Alright, so that's that. Okay, next is going to get the other one and put that over here on the top. Right here. Holding the bottom plate and then pushing down through that rubber piece and then screwing that hand tight as well. Alright, so that's hand tight all the way. Now I'm just going to go ahead and use my tool right here. And at the same time holding the plate like I am now, grabbing my tool. That's what I'm doing right here. Let me see if I can scroll, move back a little bit more so you guys can see. And then just tightening down the bolts. It's snug for now. Let me get the other one in. Again, this one's going to be a little bit weird because of the little stick. You want to get this one as snug as you can. Okay, that's pretty snug. And that one, I think it's this one, it's also at a weird angle over here in the top. Alright, so you can see it's kind of a little bit up on this side. That's why it looks like that. Because it hit this part here before this part, so it's kind of like at a hill, I would say. But it's pretty snug here, so maybe snug just a little bit more. You don't want to go too crazy because you don't want to snap the bolts, and that'll be a bad day. So just a little bit more, but I think it's pretty secure on there. A little bit more on this one, and I think we should be good. Alright, other than that, it's actually looking really good. Let me go ahead and swing this guy up. This is how it's going to look like. Here's the bottom end there. Here is the top end of that. Okay, and then when I swing this back down, other than that, it's looking really good. And it's pretty cool. It actually has a little bit of a style here too. Just two holes, honestly. Alright, so now that we got that done, I'm going to go ahead and we are going to remove the rear stand and see how it all fits and works out. I may want to spray paint these screws, honestly, because they are silver. I want black everything out, so I'll probably spray paint that part so you won't be seeing these two bolts sticking out over here. Okay, we finally have the bike off of the stand and it is looking much better. Look at the angle. It's not even that extreme anymore. And I don't even feel like that I'm dropping my bike every time I'm about to get off of it. Alright, so I would say a success. And then also, check it out, I did black out the screws. So therefore, no one will even suspect that the block is actually screwed onto the kickstand. Alright guys, if you guys enjoyed this video, please smash that like button. If you hated the video, smash the dislike button. Let me know down below what you disliked about the video to help me improve for a future one. Also, if you guys have any comments, leave that down below. And while you're down there, please subscribe. Hit the notification bell. That way you guys are up to date with any future uploads and installations and anything else I come across for these bikes. If you know anyone else that has a extreme lean angle like I used to, please share this video. They may not know that they could do something like this, as I didn't know either when upon looking, until the only reason I found out about this block is because my good buddy, he actually has an aluminum block on his kickstand as well. So I was like, dude, they got me the idea. So I started looking around and found this, and therefore that's how I came across I'm making this video for you guys to help you guys out as well. Other than that, I appreciate you guys watching. Catch you guys on the next one.